Today we're going to take a look at a dialogue from lesson 10 of my online course. And we're going to use this dialogue to practice our pronunciation and our reading skills. Try to speak natural and clear English. And we're going to focus on some of the words and how to stress some of the words, and what parts of the sentence are more important. And also, we're going to talk about something called linking. Linking is where you take two words and the sounds go together. This is really common in English, especially in American English. Words blend together. And if you can do that, your English will sound a lot more smooth and a lot more fluent. So, in this dialogue, there's a character who is talking to their friend Bob, and these two characters are trying to create a story together. And the main character is a very calm, peaceful person, maybe a little bit boring sometimes. And then Bob, he's a fun guy and he wants to make an interesting story. So in the dialogue, the two people are going to work together to try to create a story, and Bob wants something fun. The main character kind of just wants something peaceful, but maybe Bob thinks that's boring. So let's get started and read through some of this dialogue. So, the main character went to see a movie and thought it was just okay. And the director said, "Oh, you know nothing." So, this is later when the main character is talking to Bob. And he says, "Hey, Bob, some guy told me I know nothing about acting. How can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story?" So hey, Bob. So when you're saying hello to someone, you kind of go down and up. Hey, Bob. Oop, I need thicker lines than that so you can see. Or maybe I'll use blue. That'll be easier to see. Hey, Bob. Some guy told me I know nothing about acting. So some guy told me I know nothing about acting. I think the only tricky thing here is nothing about acting. Some guy told me I know nothing about acting. Now, these three words, to make them sound smooth, you kind of link them together. You don't say, "I know nothing about acting." So nothing about, the NG kind of links to the A. Nothing about. And notice something. Did I say about? No. If the T is at the end of a word, in American English, that usually doesn't have a sound. Nothing about acting. It's a stop. You stop the air coming out of your mouth. I know nothing about acting. So you stop your breath and don't breathe. Nothing about acting. I know nothing about acting. Nothing about acting. Yeah, and it kind of slides together because there's no T. The O and the A almost go together. About acting. About acting. About acting. Oh, you can hear it. There's a bit of it almost sounds like D-A. About acting. Can you hear it? D-A. Oh, that's very small. That's very small still. How about that? I know nothing about acting. Acting. You can da 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 da. It's called a flap T, where your tongue hits the top of your mouth and it doesn't really make much of a sound. It's a little bit like a D. Don't make a D sound, dacting. Your tongue just hits the top a little bit. About acting. It's very subtle. There's not much sound there. Duffy says, Teacher Kyle, let's see Chinese word. I just write a Chinese short sentence. I'm not sure what you mean, Duffy. Let's see Chinese word. That looks like Chinese grammar, Duffy. Let's see sounds like 少看. That's Chinese, but not English grammar. I'm not sure what you're trying to say. I'm sorry, but try to write your comment again. Okay. Next, how can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story? So how can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story? Now here, this one, there's a lot more linking. So how can I, we say can I, N-I goes together. How can I? So if you say how can I, it's very hard to say. But if you say it like can I, the N and the I go together. How can I make a movie? The K and the A go together. Make a movie. How can I make a movie? How can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story? So if I, it's not if I, but if I, the F-I go together. If I don't understand, again, the T doesn't really make a sound. So it sounds like N-U-N, nunderstand. I don't understand. I don't understand. So you don't need a T sound. You could say I don't understand, like with a stop, like we said before. But then the N can connect. Don't understand. I don't understand. So if you say it slow like that, when you say it quickly, it'll be more easier to say. If I don't understand the characters in my story, the characters in my story. So the S-I-N go together. And here the S sounds like a Z. The characters in my story. So I'll read it slowly. How can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story? And so if you say quickly, because it's all stuck together, it's easier to say. How can I make a movie if I don't understand the characters in my story? Can you hear it? So hopefully that makes it easier for you. Next up, Bob responds. Your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill, but don't worry. We can workshop ideas with each other. So Bob is telling you your ideas are not usually very exciting, but I'll try to help you. Okay, what does Duffy say? Okay, Duffy says that because I'm in the United States, I don't see Chinese very often, and I don't use it very often. And so then he wrote in Chinese his message from before. Okay, yeah, you're right that living in the United States, I'm not using Chinese very often, which is too bad. I'm still taking a Chinese class. I have a one-on-one class with a tutor once a week. So I get a little bit of practice, but not day by day. But yeah, so back to your sentence in English saying Kyle less see Chinese word. You could say Kyle doesn't see much English these days. Chinese. Kyle doesn't see much Chinese these days. I mean, I still see a lot of it online or whatever, but in daily life, I don't use it very much. Yeah. So at least there's the internet. So there's a lot of Chinese on the internet for me to practice. But yeah, I'm not talking to my friends and family in Chinese in America. Too bad. So maybe you can help me practice. Okay, back to what Bob said. Bob says, your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill, but don't worry. We can workshop ideas with each other. So slowly, your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill, but don't worry. We can workshop ideas with each other. So, your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill. So, your ideas becomes your ideas. The your ideas. Your ideas. So it kind of goes together. Your ideas are, notice this S sticks to the R. Just like above, it makes a Z sound. Your ideas are usually, this is a pretty clean break. Your ideas are usually, there's enough of a space between where the R doesn't go to the U. Your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill. Now, run-of-the-mill is a phrase meaning kind of like normal, standard, not too exciting. But it's run of the mill. But we blend it together. Run of the mill. So the N from run goes on to of. Run of. Run of the mill. Okay? Your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill. Your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill. But don't worry. Again, the T disappears. Don't worry. For stress, go down hard on don't, and then worry goes up because we're being happy and positive, right? So your ideas are usually pretty run-of-the-mill. But don't worry. We can workshop ideas with each other. We can workshop ideas with each other. Okay. Here the P on workshop kind of goes with ideas. Kind of like your ideas. Now we have workshop ideas. A little bit. Not ideas, but there's a little bit of a connection. We can workshop ideas with each other. This one is much stronger. Each other. I think, personally, this is not true, but I think this should become one word. People in English use this like it's one word. I think we should put it in the dictionary as one word. Each other. But it's still two words, but we say it like it's one word. Each other. So the CH on each sticks to the other, and it sounds like each other. Each other. Okay? Okay, keep going. And then the main character says, "Oh, the characters I've written are all too flat. My characters need more depth and character development." So the characters I've written are all too flat. My characters need more depth and character development. Okay, so about the linking, the characters I've written, the S sticks to the word I've. Zive. The characters I've written. Again, it's an S, but it sounds like a Z. This is a very common thing to happen. Come on. I'm trying to move things. Still not used to this website, so I'll get used to it eventually. The characters I've written. So there's a little pause in there. I've written. Hey, I've written. Well, you can actually stick that together. The characters I've written kind of goes right from one to the other. The characters I've written are, and like before, N sticks to the A. The characters I've written are all too flat. Trying to do it slowly makes it even harder for me. The characters I've written are all too flat. These three, you can say them pretty much separate because there's no letters at the beginning or end that link together. All too flat. And you can do that to make it, for emphasis, to make it a little bit stronger. You can say all too flat. Okay? So, the characters I've written are all too flat. Flat meaning kind of boring, not interesting. There's not enough to them. My characters need more depth and character development. There's not really much linking here because each word we want to stress. We want to say each word clearly because these are tricky words. When you're speaking, if you're using easy words, it's okay to speak really quickly and blend lots of the words together. But if it's a important word or a word that's less common, you need to say it a little bit more clearly. My characters need more depth and character development. You can hear that I say depth and character development, like very strongly, because these are important words. I want you to hear and understand what I'm trying to tell you. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's keep on going. Let's go over them one after another. Each one should have a backstory. So let's go over them one after another. Each one should have a backstory. Okay, so let's go. This sounds almost like one word because people say it so much. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go over them. Let's go over them. Can you hear that? there's two O's, go over them. So you don't stop. You don't say, let's go over them. Don't stop in the middle. You just move your voice to make it sound like there are two O's. Let's go over them. Kind of funny. Let's go over them one. That doesn't really link so much. Let's go over them one after another. One after another. These do though. One after. So it's like naff. One after another. Another. So the R from after sticks to another. Another. That's because these three words together are a very common phrase. One after another. One after another. One after another. Say it super quick. So let's go over them one after another. If you blend it together, if you link them together, it's easier to say quickly. Each one should have a backstory. So here, the CH from each sticks to one. Each one, chwan. It almost sounds like each one. Each one should have a. So when we say have, we often say have a backstory. Backstory, nothing because it's a key word. Okay, so let's go over them one after another. Each one should have a backstory. Okay? And then the main character says, the other day, I thought of two guys. One is a truck driver, and the other works at 7-Eleven. That's all I got so far. So, the other day, usually if it's before a vowel, the E on THE sounds like a long E. The other day. Okay? The other day. And because it's linking, we want to go from one word to the other. The other. Yeah. So, the other day. It almost sounds like a Y, right? The other day. The other day, I thought of, this is kind of like what we saw before. I thought of, the T is what's called a flap T. And it sounds a little bit like a D. And so we get a dove sound. I thought of two guys. The other day, I thought of two guys. So these are two characters. One is a truck driver, and the other works at 7-Eleven. So one is, the N sticks on IS. One is, and again, this S sounds like a Z, right? One is, it's not one-is, it's one is. One is a truck driver. No linking here, just truck driver. Truck driver, because it's a key word. And the other, same thing. The other works at 7-Eleven. Works at. Here, this does sound like an S. He works at. Because in the word, in the word works, it sounds like an S. That's just something you got to get used to. IS sounds like a Z. So he is a truck driver. He works sounds like an S. He works at 7-Eleven. Okay? So if it's a verb and at, there's also often going to be that linking. Works at 7-Eleven. And That's all I got so far. Well, I'll read that one more time. One is a truck driver, and the other works at 7-Eleven. That's all I got so far. That's all I got so far. So this S and all go together. That's all I got so far. And your friend Bob is bored. He thinks, oh, geez, these characters are not interesting. He goes, yawn, yawn. Yawn is the sound when you're tired. Ah. So he says, yawn, jazz it up a little. Make one a space trucker and the other a clerk at space 7-Eleven. So Bob wants to make the story more interesting. So he says, jazz it up a little. To jazz it up means make it more exciting. Jazz it up. Jazz it up. We have linking in two different ways here. So jazz it. The Z moves on to the IT. And then the T onto the UP is that flap T, which sounds a little bit like a D again, right? So jazz it up, dup, dup, dup. It's almost like DUP, dup. Not quite dup, but dup. There's that jazz it up. Jazz it up a little. And the P goes a little bit on the Jazz it up a little. Okay? So jazz it up a little. Each final letter sticks to the word on the next word. Jazz it up a little. Jazz it up a little. And then make one a space trucker and the other a clerk at space 7-Eleven. So make one, a little bit like that. Make one. The K moves from one word to the other. Make one, a space trucker, and space trucker, go down and up on this one to emphasize it. And you want to pause a little bit to let someone understand this new idea. Make one a space trucker and the other a clerk at space 7-Eleven. So go up at trucker because you have more to say, and then down at 7-Eleven to end the sentence. Make one a space trucker and the other a clerk at space 7-Eleven. Okay. Now, hopefully this is helpful. I think for now, just because I'm a little bit sick, let's stop here for today. We can save the rest of the dialogue for next week. Okay? I'm not sure how far we'll get, but if I'm feeling better and my brain is working better, maybe we can move faster and it'll be helpful and useful for you. So, yeah, if you have any questions, please leave a comment. Let me know what you think. And if you're interested in more of this dialogue, you can ask me about it and check it out in our course. This is lesson 10, dialogue 3 from the intermediate English course. So thank you so much for joining. I hope you learned something new. I hope you got some good practice, and thank you for joining again. So have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.